The story of the Lion King takes place in one of the African kingdoms, which was known as the Land of Pride, where the lion was the ruler over all the animals in the kingdom. The story of the Lion King Part 1. At the beginning of the story, Simba appears, a little lion born to King Mufasa and Queen Sarabi, and Simba is introduced to the masses of animals in the Pride Rock lands, but Mufasa's younger brother, named Scar, decides not to attend the ceremony, because he was annoyed by the appearance of an heir to the throne instead of him. So Mufasa confronts Scar and reminds him that he never turned his back on him, but Scar did not care about Mufasa's words, which aroused concern and suspicion in Mufasa's soul. Years later, Simba now appears at a young age and began to understand and see what the responsibilities of the kingdom are and what his life will be that connects all the animals of the forest. In this period, Scar decides to eliminate Mufasa and Simba so that he will be the king. So he deceives Simba and his close friend Nala by exposing the cemetery of elephants that access is prohibited. And from here Simba's journey begins as he follows three hyenas, Shinzi, Banzai, and Ed, and they are in agreement with Scar. Mufasa learned about this and decided to save the cubs, but Mufasa felt he is disappointed in Simba. But Mufasa will eventually forgive Simba and explain that the great kings of the past are watching them from the night sky, and he from the same place will one day watch from it Simba. Earlier, Scar had gained the trust of these hyenas by claiming that if the king took over, they would not starve again if they helped him kill both Mufasa and Simba. Hence Scar began to form an army of hyenas to help him. Later Scar lured Simba into a big fight, and then Scar signals the hyenas to do a stampede of wild animals inside the valley where Simba is, and when it started Mufasa rushed to save Simba from this stampede, but during Mufasa's rescue of his son, but caught clinging to the edge of a cliff, and then unable to resist and falls dead, Scar convinces Simba that he is to blame for his father's death and advises him to flee the Pride Lands, never to return to it. Then Scar sends the hyenas back to Simba's path to kill him, but when Simba reaches a barbed bridge, they let him escape, and they began to tell him threats that he would kill him if he returned again. And that night in the Land of Pride, Scar told Sarabi, Nala, and the rest of the animals that both Mufasa and Simba were killed during this stampede and that he would take the throne as he is the closest relative, and after becoming king, Scar fulfills his promise to his hyena partners and allows them to enter the Pride Lands. As for Simba, he was wandering in a remote desert, and then Timon and Pumbaa find him unconscious. The two of them later raised Simba under their well-known slogan Hakuna Matata, and when Simba grew up and reached the age of a young man, and one day Simba saves them from a hungry lioness who was Nala, and Simba realizes that Nala is from the Land of Pride, and Simba and Nala begin to fall in love. Then Nala says about Baron, and Nala asks him to come back and take his rightful king. But Simba refuses because of his guilt about his father's death, which I think he caused. Then Simba's companion convinces him to return to the Pride Lands, offering him biting tips from his companions and Nala. Then Simba, followed by Nala, Timon and Pumbaa, returned home. As soon as Simba returns to the Land of Pride, Simba, Timon, Pumbaa and Nala feel fear and amazement upon reaching the Land of Pride. After this land was like a fertile paradise, it has now become a lifeless dead wasteland, due to poaching, which led to the departure of many animals in the end to the Land of Pride, which led to a famine in the lands. Then Simba saw his uncle Scar beat his mother, and from then Simba announced his return, and Simba decided to confront Scar, who wanted Simba to admit his responsibility for the death of Mufasa as his father, and then he seduces Simba to reach the edge of the cliff rock, and then he sets fire to Simba's bottom. While Simba hangs on the edge of the rock, Scar whispers to Simba, "I killed Mufasa," and jumps Simba, and the fight between them flared up, forcing Scar to admit the truth in front of the crowd. A heated battle begins between hyenas and lions, and with them Timon and Pumbaa. In the midst of the fight, Scar tries to blame the hyenas and hold them responsible for what happened. But the hyenas overheard his conversation with Simba and understood Scar's plot, and Simba orders Scar to immediately get out of the Pride Lands. Scar pretends to get out but attacks Simba, and after many attempts Simba conquers Scar by kicking and throwing him from the top. The hyenas are their treacherous leader, so Scar tries to survive himself strongly, but the hyenas finally got tired of him, his bad treatment of them, his violation of promises, so they attacked him, beat him to death, and then caught the flames, turned around and swallowed him. After the death of both Scar and hyenas, Simba regained the rightful king, regained the Pride Lands, Then the poverty and desolation of the lands that turned green and came to life again departed, and the story ends with the introduction of Simba's son Rafiki and Nala into the air to the audience, and thus the continuation of the circle of life and the king again.